She got a recording. So super. So it just, most
I like
people
your
are
earrings,
used to that
Betsy.
now, getting that little message to, click. Super. Well, glad you guys could come. Thanks for coming a little bit earlier today. I've got something to do at 4:00. So first I was going to cancel it, and then I thought, oh, I'll just do it a little bit earlier. And then of course I was like, reimagining how my day was going to go. But anyway, I'm just following through. Before I started recording, we were talking about these China wax markers. That is what they're called. They're called a China marker, but they really present more as a pencil. But this wax medium here, someone was telling me that they used to be used a lot to actually write on glass jars. So I actually tried it out. You can write on the glass jar, and you can actually erase it just with your thumb quite easily. So they become really kind of popular, in certain factions for using as your drawing tool, because they don't smear, they don't erase either. So if you're looking to loosen yourself up because you do too much drawing, erase, draw, erase, this is great. You can't erase. Okay. You might find it a little frustrating if you're someone who likes to, do a lot of erasing. What's really nice about them is again, pressure. The harder pressure you apply, the darker the black gets, and you can get a nice gradated range from a very light gray to a very dark black, which resembles, I posted one the other day and someone thought it was charcoal, because it does have that resemblance, because you can do the same thing with charcoal or charcoal pencil, where you can, your pressure makes the black a little lighter or a little darker. So they are really nice. Now I've been using them with my pastel, and a lot of times I do a wet underpainting, and they've worked out wonderfully with gouache underpainting, the acrylic ink they've worked well with. I do tend to draw lightly, so it's not like I'm putting in a full-fledged, really dark, heavy line. That may change it, because of course a water-based medium would resist wax, and that's what this is. It's a wax pencil. So if you do decide to try it with a water-based medium for an underpainting, or even if you're watercolor artist or a gouache artist or something like that, give it a try on scrap paper first, just to see how much you can cover. Pastel, it covers beautifully. The other thing that happens is it does not have that, which is why I never used charcoal, because, first of all, it smears all over the place. And, if you're using darker colors, the charcoal just kind of dissipates or disappears into your painting. If you're using lighter colors, sometimes you have to be a little bit more careful, because the charcoal can get a little bit blended in with a light value pastel. Don't have the problem with this at all. And as you saw in probably other things, I think I've used it a couple of times. I'm just looking in my drawer here to see what I did with the white one. I use the gray tone paper, and I'm using black and white in my sketchbook, which is wonderful. And I forgot to put this on. Let me see, I want to pin myself, sorry about that. So we get a full view. Okay, and that makes it a little bit better. Sorry about that. Okay, all these steps I have to remember. So that's my little promo on drawing mediums. Really nice. Anyway, I'll put that away. What I thought I would do today is just show you a little bit about one of my ongoing projects that I have, and that is to take paintings that I have been, some of them I've worked on, quite a while ago. I think there's one that I did a demo of, started last year, and I got probably the majority of it done, and I just was not happy with it, and did a little bit more work with it. So today I'm just going to take you through two paintings that I have that I think have potential, but they're just not hitting the mark for a variety of reasons. And this is a great way of weeding out your artwork. I paint a lot. Okay, so I have a lot of paintings. A lot of them are never going to, nobody's ever going to see. You know, I consider them more like my practice pieces, as if I was going in the other room and just practicing. You know, and some of them, you know, for one reason or another, whether it's a plein air or a studio, you know, had high hopes, but it's just, you know, I know it's not quite there yet. So, you know, it's certainly not framed, and, you know, they're, you know, have, you know, some things to do with it. So anyway, that's what I'm going to show you a little bit today. But thank you for coming, and feel free, as you know, to ask questions. I just asked, you know, keep yourself on mute, but questions, just unmute yourself and ask. I don't mind stopping and starting. So before I get going though, does anyone have any questions? Okay. I think I've zoomed in enough. Okay, I've got these two, I've got an extra light on that I put here. I see a little bit of my shadow, but I do not think it's really affecting the light. So I'm just gonna leave it and not fuss around. These are two paintings. This is a plein air that I did in the autumn. And this was clearly an autumn scene that was done in the studio. I believe I started this with a class that we were working on autumn colors. Now, if I look at both of these, I think the bones are good. I'm not seeing any gigantic compositional, you know, problems. The problems really that I'm seeing right now are the masses of colors. And looking at both of these, you know, think of it in terms of what I want to have is I want to have the, oops, see if I move my hand sometimes too quickly, that tries to focus on my hand. So I'll be a little bit more careful there. Okay, but I'm trying to focus on the foreground is going to have more variation. It's going to have more variation in value, light and dark. It's going to have more variation in the amount of detail, okay? And I detail in the pumpkin that was here. This is actually a pumpkin patch. If you're from Cape Cod, Tony Andrews Farms has this really great area of pumpkin patch pumpkins, but we happened to be there on a day where I was there like 2 days earlier taking photos, scouting out the plate, it looked really great. And then when we went back, they actually plowed the field. So we didn't really have the number of pumpkins I was intending people to have to paint for plein air. But anyway, a little less definition in this area. Okay, so defined, wider range of value. I'm also looking for, you know, areas in the foreground that are probably warmer. And as we go back, areas that are a little cooler, and trying to vary my mark so that there's more, there could potentially be more variation of obvious pastel marks in the foreground as opposed to the background. And I've missed the mark in a couple of areas, you know, and I think partly what happened is got like a little carried away in here with bringing in, you know, softening the edges in the background. I just did not want as much of a contrast with the sky and the tree line. And in doing that, I got a little fiddly in here. The marks that are in here where they're catching the lights, catching the leaves, okay, that's looking okay. But the rest of the tree, which I want it to be a mass, but it feels like it needs to have some areas that are broken up a little bit. And of course, these are all in attempts to not totally mess it up as I try to fix it. But anyway, that's what I'm seeing in this. Now, what's interesting, why I have both of these up is they have similar issues, but and they have comparisons in their value of their palette because they're both autumn, but different issue altogether. This one over here, okay, wow, my issue here is my intensity. Okay, look at how intense these colors are in the background. Okay, and it doesn't fit well with this foreground here. So what I'm going to try to do is knock down the intensity back here, bring up the intensity a little bit more in the foreground, because what I'm always trying to do is show that depth within the landscape on a two-dimensional surface that has no depth that is worth considering. Okay, so it's this illusion I'm trying to create. So I've lost that illusion here because your eye just goes totally back here and we're missing it in the foreground. So going to adjust the intensity in this one. This one here, I'm going to try to bring in a variety of value marks, various colors, some a little lighter, some a little darker, just to give a little bit more definition to some of these areas in the foreground and knock down the background. Oh, so anyway, does anyone ever have that problem that you have a painting that you feel like you really need to fix it and you're not really sure how to go about doing it?
Just about all of them.
Yeah, I'll tell you, it's a right. I think I've told you guys before, I have a stack that is, there's no hope to these paintings. And there's another stack that there is hope, so.
Betsy,
and the ones that there's no hope, I just wash off the paper because I am not throwing all this paper away.
you have the problem sometimes that you filled the tooth and you have to go and put pumice gel on?
No, I never, okay, that's a really good question. Depends on the paper you use. Sometimes you can fill the tooth really quickly. I rarely have the issue of filling the tooth quickly now because I tend to use really soft or light strokes, I should say. Okay, 10, 15 years ago, maybe even nearer than that. I mean, I was like, really crazy getting those strokes in there. My guess is I was filling the paper up a lot more in the past than I am now. A lot of times and sometimes I'm holding the pastel so lightly that I drop it. Just because I'm just really putting on light strokes. And that's truthfully even in the beginning phases. I might be putting in big strokes, but I'm still doing it fairly lightly. A lot of that has to do with if you use an underpainting. And 90%, if not more, of my paintings have some version of a wet or a dry underpainting, which means that I am not trying to cover up the color of the paper that's underneath, whether it's white or a toned paper. I've resolved that before I've even started. And working on black paper is great. I love working on black paper. And that one, I don't wind up filling up because you really want that dark, because you want that lovely contrast of light and dark. So, but to answer your question in full, that going over, two things you can do. One, if you filled the tooth up and it's a section of your painting that you're trying to fix up, you can just use one of those great bristle brushes and you can just knock off the pastels. The pastel, these guys here, they come in all different sizes. Just knock off the pastel so that you're getting back down to the tooth of the paper. Sometimes, especially if there's a wet underpainting and you've done a variety of things and you're kind of exploring and you've really lost the tooth altogether, even knocking it down, you may not get enough tooth. And that is when, yes, using one of the pumice grounds, the clear, and I know a lot of people are using that clear gesso as a ground. I've not used it, so I really can't answer how that does, but pumice gel will do it. What you have to be careful of with the pumice gel on the surfaces is some of the surfaces are going, like a UArt could potentially start to, it tends to curl when it gets wet. So you're better off putting on light coat, let it dry, and then put another light coat on rather than try to put on a heavy coat. That would be my suggestion. Not that I've done it that many times, or if all, ever at all. But I use pumice gel a lot. And I do know that even on those first layers, you do need to know the sort of surface you're putting it on. Test it, always test it first if it's the first time. So, but
what about pan pastels?
Pan pastels, the same thing. Pan pastels, because by nature, the pan pastels, gosh, I think I had said I was going to do something with pan pastels. I'm going to write that down. By nature of pan pastels, a lot of times you are actually pushing the pastel into the paper. You can do that, and pan pastel works really well on like pastel matte. Pastel matte doesn't have, it's deceiving. It doesn't feel like it has a lot of tooth, but it does. It grips and holds the pastel, but when you touch it, it feels more like suede than it does like sandpaper. For that, what I would suggest is the same sort of thing as brushing it off and then going back in again. And pan pastel you can use with a textured surface, so you could put the pumice ground in, but you have to think of it, if you're taking and you're pushing pastel into the paper, as you do with pan pastel, at least the initial layers, you may have more difficulty knocking it out. And you don't want to go so I was going to say vicious, but so, hard with the brushing out that you're going to ruin the surface that you're working on. So I just do it a little bit more carefully with the pan pastel.
Okay, thank you.
And truthfully, if all else fails, you just take your paper to the sink, you use the little hose and wash the painting off, because some of these papers, especially if you start doing larger sheets, I mean, to throw them out, you can still use them. The darker the color or the more vivid the color of pastel that's on there, you're going to wind up with a shadow or, a ghost of the painting that you had there. But you turn it around, you chop off the, sections. You can do all different sorts of things with the papers. A lot of times you have to stack them on newspaper with paper towel and put something heavyweight on top after they've dried, not while they're sopping wet.
Betsy, one of the interesting dilemmas I'm having, so I'm doing this Bitterroot cabin, and the landscape in the cabin, I have enough skills to make it look pretty darn good. Now I have this beautiful sunset sky with clouds, which I don't have the skill with, so I have amateur hour in the sky. Looks like year 1 pastel class, right? And then in the bottom, I have, I'm pretty far along. So I think I'm going to work on my clouds kind of like independent of this. So I've decided I'm just going to kind of take most of the sky off and have it be a landscape painting with a little bit of sky showing, because it looks really silly. It just looks like the sky really looks like, year 1 and the landscape.
Right. And you're not year 1. Yeah. And the thing of it is a lot of times what happens is you have to decide if the story and intent of your painting is about the clouds or is it about the landscape. And I mean, there's many artists that can pull off, the detail in the sky and the detail in the land. But if you're uncertain, really decide which is more important, and put your focus into the details and into the area, let's say the land, and then leave the sky as larger masses. It's all value though. You just same thing, just think value, just think of larger masses and less detail, and keep the detail in the landscape. And when I say detail, I'm talking about, we've all seen those like gorgeous clouds that, really you almost feel like, if you were up there, you could just like feel the volume of them, because they're
you can do a Mr. Whipple.
Yeah, exactly. So just, especially in the beginning, one of the, and practicing them, just practice clouds like crazy. Okay, so for this guy here, as I said, and two ways you can handle this. One, I could try to find these greens again that I used, okay? And I could replicate them down here, and then I could test my colors. Okay, I'm not going to go through all that bother. I'm pretty familiar with whether they're a warm or a cool one. I can tell what value they are. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to test the colors right on the painting. There's a beauty of pastel right off the bat. We can test colors right on there, and we're not really going to ruin our painting. Okay, so to start with, boy, that little shadow is going to really bug me a bit. seeing just as, it's ever so slight. I gotta remember that. That's what I get for changing up my lighting. I don't remember it being a problem last time. Okay, so first of all, I have to take care of this back here. The first thing I need to do is come in. I know the value is right, but sometimes just taking a brush, I love these fan brushes, and this is a hard bristle one. So this one's got nice hard bristles. It'll knock it out. And see, I was trying to avoid this harder edge that's back here. I wanted that to be softer. So I'm just going to get that out, knock it down. I can see the edge of the tree a little bit nicer there, but I don't have those big fiddly marks. You know, and I could keep bristling away here, but I'm going to give it a rest. Test in here. Okay. I had a lot of green, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just come in here and I'm going to test a couple of different violets in the background that are like a medium light. I want them to be cool. So I'm going to be careful I don't pull out anything that's too warm. This is a little bit darker, so that may work out nice. It's a little bit more vibrant too. So if I put that down, I want to make sure and go over that. Okay, so I'm going to take, ooh, wow, that might be too light. Okay, I'm going to take that down. Okay, I'm going to put this guy. These are the two that I had thought would work. I'm going to put this guy first. Okay, just and bigger strokes. Remember, I have really fiddly little strokes there. Okay, this is working out better. Okay, less detail behind that tree. Knocked it down a little bit. Now that lighter one, now I'll come in with the lighter one. Okay, and I'm just going to, remember, I don't want a big contrast, and that's why I want like contrast here, not as much contrast here. So I'm just going to bring the tree up just a little bit and just soften that edge with a value. Both of them are coolish violets, and just bring that slightly in there. Okay, think of the direction of the trees, and this is where I got hung up last time. Just going to slide down slightly through here. The light's coming from over here. I can tell because the shadows are going this way. Big shadow this way, shadow this way. Got light hitting the sides of the tree. I have to knock that up. So I'm just gonna, okay, so I'm gonna take this. I'm gonna run this a little bit over here. I like this violet will go. I'll tell you that for landscapes, that secondary color harmony, which is your violet, your orange, and your green, it's almost like they're natural buddies, you know, they really go well together. All right, okay, now you can put dark over light if you're doing a drag, okay? So I'm just gonna drag this up, drag it up just so that I got, and a little bit of that, a little more vivid color. Okay, drag that up just a little bit, and a little bit, rather than blending with my finger, I've now kind of gotten rid of all those marks that I had there. Of course, it would have been a good idea. Hopefully I did take a photograph of this. Okay, this same, back to the light one. I'm gonna come in here and I'm gonna carve out a little bit of the trees. Gonna get rid of very, very light. I mean, seriously, this is super light. And for some reason, I do tend to hold it with these two fingers as opposed to those two fingers. It might be personal preference, but I also think it's a little bit of a balance for me. I think I use this finger to balance. I'm not really sure. Someone asked me, and it's totally unintentional. So look at the way, value shift, color shift. I'm carving out that tree. That carving out, think of it, okay? Look at all this green I got in here, okay? Well, it's just one tree here and another tree there. My guess is I can see the trees that are in the background. So I'm gonna come in, and I'm gonna carve out a little bit of another area where I can see potentially those trees that are in the background. And it's ever so slightly shift in value. I don't want to have a high shift in value, just enough where, okay, I've carved out the trunk here. Okay, I've got a little bit of this branch showing here, gonna come in. So the branch is showing up there. I'm gonna come up here, get rid of a little bit of this little fussiness that I drew. Okay, and this is all still just this color. It's looking a little bit different over here because I'm just sticking with this and it's muting down that green that's in the background. Okay, very lightly here. It's too dark back there. I'm gonna lighten it. Okay, I'm trying to make that tree show. Okay, because I'm putting it on light, that bluish green that's underneath is still there. But look at the way these shapes are starting to show up. Okay, a shift in value. Okay, that's looking at the monitor. It's actually looking right on the monitor. Okay, it's getting a little denser in here. So I don't really want to take this color and put it too much into this area because the leaves are denser because I've got a couple of trees here. So I'm just going to come in right here. And I'm going to come up. Another tree trunk here and a tree trunk here. So I'm using them, carve up to the tree trunk, over, up here to this tree trunk, and I'm going to give that tree trunk a little bit more of a shape there. And notice bigger masses of this violet as I go around, they're getting smaller. I'm going to put just a little bit right here. Okay, because then it's going to totally disappear. You're not going to be able to see the stuff that's in the background. Now, part of what happened here and I should have mentioned that, is I'm not introducing a new color. I already have a blue violet in this painting. So when you are readjusting your painting, think of the colors that you have in there. And what you want to do is you want to either pull up same or similar colors and values. And what you're doing is you're just thinking in terms of where do I need to reposition that same color. Now, sometimes what happens is a color is just not working, like what's going to happen over here. So I'm going to show you that. This one here is just a little bit easier because it's partly a value issue. I'm just going to step back for a second. Okay, I can see that better. Okay, I want this to remain a mass. Don't want to get overly fiddly. I can already see lots of sky holes in there. I don't want to have like a whole load of sky holes because then all of a sudden what happens is you wind up having this whole story about sky holes, and it kind of, for me, for this, it's going to detract. I want everything kind of like coming in and focusing right here, almost as if these linear paths of objects and shapes are bringing you to this area. So what I need to do is now I need to go to the other end and I need to get some darker values into those trees, which makes more sense. These trees have the light coming from this side. They'll have light hitting here, but the rest of the tree is really going to be in the shadows. So I'm not going to use this violet. I was tempted to use the violet, but I'm going to come in. I'm going to show you this violet, darker value. We can definitely see the violet in that. It looks a little more blue on the monitor than it is in real life. I'm going to pull up a color that's got a little bit more of a neutral look to it. And it's a little bit darker. And I don't want it to have a lot of, ooh, look at that. That really still looks too green. Okay, I might not be able to use my greens. Okay, no, I'm not going to use the greens on the tree then. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here. I'm going to look at some of my neutrals that I have and see if I have a neutral that's a nice and dark. These new drawers of mine are fabulous. I can see like all my pastels. Oh, geez, it's a, oh, something a little bit on that. Yeah, let's try these. A couple of these, and I'm going to pull out a variety of different colors that are dark. Okay, this could be warm up front too. This is okay. Look at that. That is not black. That is a really dark. It's a really dark red. believe it or not. This one's a little bit lighter, same idea, it's more that reddish look. This one here might be a little bit too much of a natural brown, which at this point I'm not going to use. I might use that in the middle. So let's see this. So I got this dark. So I'm going to bring up the edge. Now, with pastels, you know, there's all the different types of marks that you can make with your pastels, depending on how you hold it, what you use. I am actually going to hold it on the side and I'm going to push it away from me. I'll show it on the light. Okay, so I'm going to make an edge. I am not going to draw the edge of the tree like that. I'm going to use the edge. Same idea. Remember, I was using the word carving here. I'm going to carve over here too. So I'm going to come in here and I'm just going to push away. And that color that's underneath, color and value, I'm hoping that what is going to happen, oops, you got a little carried away, a little wide right there. Okay, I can. Okay, well, it's a little dark. Let's push this guy. Okay, a little brush that little edge, that little mistake right out of there. Ooh, the dark looks a lot better. I wanted to have light there. Okay, let's get the base of this tree a little bit. Okay, if you do it like this, what happens is it holds the color that you had there before so that I can still see the original color. Now I have to remember the light's coming from there, just to put a little right in here. Okay, I want these guys to, and the light's got to be underneath a little bit. I mean, the dark's going to be underneath the limbs. So I have to put a little bit dark underneath. Wow, that looks really dark. Okay, so right now it's standing out on its own. Oh, so I think I'm going to like this. This is where the other color came in handy. That's this guy right here. Okay, this is what I refer to as bridging. Okay. I'm going to take, and I already know he's lighter. I'm going to take and just soften that edge by now, just opposite direction, just coming in. And I now soften that, and I gave it more of a tree feel, and I don't have a line like that. Well, actually, that looks kind of good, but I don't have a line like that. You know, I have a nice line that is just, or area, I should say, because it's not as much of a line. And again, my little brush, I'm a little crazy there, just lift that off. Okay, so that guy's it. Look at the way he's standing out now. So much better. So let's try a couple of these guys over here. Same idea. Oh, let me get the right angle. Okay, with these used pastels, once you start using pastels, you lose that nice, like Great American, Terry Ludwig, they all have, you know, these really wonderful hard edges. But what happens is once you start losing them, you lose that rectangular shape, but you can still get it. Just twiddle around. I know if some of you were with me when the day we were there, it really was a beautiful day. Let's get us a couple of these. I don't want to have too much because I want everything to be going this way, but I want to have a little bit of a, so come down, go out. Okay. Okay, shape showing up. This guy's even more in the shadows. You always think of how much light is hitting an object. So I can, and he's actually disappeared right up into the, you know, tree mouse. Okay. I keep checking in the monitor because it's really kind of interesting when you're doing a demo. Sometimes what's in what's happening on your screen may look a little different than what's happening on the monitor, but it's looking pretty good. Things are, I'll always tell you if it's slightly off. I'm going to make this a little, I'm going to get a little heavier shape right in here just to, Okay, so they look much better. Now, see the sort of rhythm now that you can see the trunks, that rhythm is showing up a lot nicer than when it was just so blendy. Too close in value is going to come in with this. Remember, and knock down that original, because I don't want this to be all the same value. All this darkness, so just little side strokes just to, I tell you, that works so nicely on trees. You know what, this tree, I think I'm gonna bring him down a little. Give this guy a little bit of a cluster right there. I like that better as a cluster, having these three all really close. Now let's get the trunk. Trunks tend to have a little bit more dark down the bottom, and these guys just very lightly. Remember, don't want to have a whole lot of details, so I'm just putting little bits in here. I don't think I'm going to go too much. Look at even this sort of like little mark like that. Okay, great way to make branches without going like loopy. Worst thing you can do is try to do a branch like that. You know, it's like, gosh, oh God, I got branch. Oh, you know, look at this. I'm going to come right over here. I'm going to just get a little bit dark. Okay, so this one, the light. The light for this one, I believe, was straight overhead. I have no strong shadows that are falling on anything. I'm going to get a little bit of this. This is one reason why I chose these two guys. I figured I could use similar. Okay, same sort of thing. Just going to come up. Oh, here, I have light on this side. So the light must have been slightly this way. Just going to bring that. This paper was like, oh, this was I think I've mentioned it before in class. I had purchased some pastel matte, which I love. And I'll be quite honest, this I'm doing for the background now, not the trees. This is for the background. And it had this really unusual texture to it. And I thought, oh, that'll work out fine. I'll just use that. And boy, it's been really hard working with it. Okay, there. Okay, so that looks better. I'll be knocking that down too. Okay, so it's a little sidebar. So I feel like I'm breaking this part up a little bit more. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come in, just being careful with the time. I have blues. I mean, I have, blue greens, yellow greens, violets, and the trees will all be darker than that sky. The areas down here, my leaves can be a little bit lighter because I'm not competing with the sky. But if I start making them too light up here, which is what happened here, I made this too light, which means it just kind of got lost. And it's not going to be as light as the sky. It's going to be a darker value. So I'm just going to bring in a couple of warm greens. Let's make sure that shows. We're a little bit more on it's a warm green, but it's a little bit more heading towards like that neutral zone because it's not really brilliant. It's not really bright like this here. Just going to come in and big strokes, couple of areas, and just knock up that warm light that's in here, keeping, okay, just a little bit through there. And then the light's coming across here, that's dark back here. And then I'm looking to where I had light before, little nice random strokes, and I'm just bringing them out as if the light is hitting there. And I'll do the same thing over here. Now this is a little more neutral looking and a little yellowy than the greens that I had. And these guys are just, okay, so I feel like the trees are feeling, this is looking really dark on the monitor. It's not actually as dark in real life. Okay, so I feel like the trees have done a better job right in here. I need this area to feel like it's a little bit separated. This is pushed back. So I'm going to come in with a green that's a little bit stronger right there. More of a middle value. and that's green. Okay, and I want it to be green, big strokes. Big strokes, and this is how I can come in over my, okay, no little strokes here. Okay, definitely feeling greener. Okay, then take the same green and look to see if there's any place I need to put it down in here. I'll just put a couple of little through there. And I'm just gonna put a little in here. I'd like a little bit of that green to kind of like flow right there. And bring it up just a touch right there. Too much. We bring that little one right back up. Perfect. Okay, I'll leave that alone. I'm gonna go back to that light one. And again, side strokes. Just bring in as if I'm catching the edge. Okay, so I've nicely broken that up. I'm not complimenting myself. I'm talking more about is going for breaking it up without doing a lot of. This color might be too bright. Test it on the side. Yep, it's going to look too blue. Okay, this one's going to be a little bit better. Then you go to that back area there. Just going to carve that out with a little bit more of a blue streak underneath. Okay, yeah, that works out well. So I'm looking for is to just give a little variety to all that violet that's back there. But oh, that little bit of blue, it just feels like the light's hitting it. If this is a little too warm, cool that down, bring it in. I'm gonna say use the same one to just go in for my grass. Again, don't, kind of keep your palette limited. Just don't go crazy trying to have a whole load of colors. Okay, that blue just helps break that up. Okay, gonna leave this alone for a little bit, but hang on a second. I'm gonna see what happens if I use, where'd it go? If I use this blue that I had, let's see what happens if I use it for the light on the side of the tree. Again, I'm just doing a little mark. I like that blue on the side of the tree. Okay, it's a warm blue. I'm hesitant to bring in too much of too warm a color in there. I like that blue. See, the thing of it is the colors are going to look different in different areas. And just because there's a lot of light hitting this, that yellow, you don't want a yellow. Here's, let's see, look how bright that is. Don't want that. Let's see, what do I have? I've got orange in here. So let me look for something that has a little bit more of an orangey feel without going too bright. Just a couple little marks right along that edge there. Just as if he's picking up a little bit of the light. Just tiny bit. Boy, I don't know if you can even see it. Hang on a second. Let me move closer. Oh, I'm not really sure if you can see it at all. Oh, bummer. I don't think it's actually showing up on the screen. It is so small. These little dappled bits of orange right in there. I'm going to drag a little bit there. Drag a little bit there. If I'm going to put orange one place, I usually try to find other places where it's, again, there's another nice bridging color. I can just drag it over both and it kind of does like a blend there. I like that orange. And I'm not going to fiddle around with the pumpkin right now. This, I feel like I made a really funky shape to the bottom of that tree. So I'm just going to get rid of that there. Okay, so I'm off to a good, it's heading in the direction I wanted it to. In terms of, I have a little bit more light hitting a little bit of the top here. If it's coming a little, even though it's shadowed there, I had a big mass there, that makes it feel a little bit wispier there. I'm gonna leave that. I'm gonna show you what I'm gonna do over here. And I'm just gonna go back just a touch with this, so you can see the whole thing. And let me just go up slightly. Okay, this is really bright. This is super bright, okay? And we've all seen that sort of foliage. I am really going to try to use the same colors that I just used over here, okay? And I'm going back to that green that really almost has like a, it's almost veering on a muted, I mean, you could use it for so many different things. And I'm going to come in here and I am just going to drag that over some of this green, that's this orange that's right here. And I'm just going to come up. Pull through. This paper is so knobbly, it's really weird. Okay, gonna keep just some of that orange showing through. Wow, it's looking really bright on the monitor. It's actually not really quite that bright. Remember I came in with the dark? Okay, I'm just gonna break that up by making these little, like this sort of mark, but can't see it. This sort of mark, I'm just coming across like that. Okay, break up that dark a little bit. And side stroke. I do a lot of side strokes. I must admit, I like the. Okay, start again. Look at that. I tried putting a little detail up there. It's not working at all. I'm going to come in with this one right here. Oops, this is the problem. Since I've shifted, I go like that. This one right here. Okay, nice muted color. Going to do the same sort of thing back here. Okay, and oh, yes, it's going on totally different. Both the same papers. This is the one that was, I think it was factory defective. Okay, so it's really going on a little bit differently. This sort of mark making like this is really good to use for edges of things, trees, grass, because you're not doing this sort of thing. It keeps it really, really loose. Okay, so I can still see that dark that I have back there. Okay, that I've got some of that light that's coming through here. That's great. Got that this color right here. I'm going to just come in with a couple of that same orange that I had. It's a little bit darker than the orange that's there. And I'm just going to, a little bit duller. I'm just going to drag it down. I can always fix up the edges of my trees later. Drag it down. Big strokes, not little strokes. Look at all those little strokes I have over here. Oh, gotta get rid of them. Just way too fiddly in the background. In real life, we would not be able to see that. I feel like I've really knocked that down. So it's not, oh, this is looking right in here. I feel like there's some little bit of light that's falling here. Let me try this. This side. Like it's heading right over the top here. Just, and this is that creamy color that I wound up not using over here. But it's still a variation of an orange. Come in with the brush if I think I did too much. And I could just, same sort of stroke I was making with the pastel. This one may be hopeless. I'm not sure. I'm still not liking it. I like the idea of this. Ugh. Okay, this is a similar color that's here. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger here. I'm just going to bring this out. This is a new color. I did not use it over there. Okay, get that size a little bit bigger. And I really want that guy to glow a little bit. So I'm going to get that color and again, just bring it around the edge as if it's hitting that green before I go too far there. Let's, boy. I don't know, maybe this painting's just not, just dragging it right over. This is that bluish green that I was using. just dragging it right over. I have a little of it going between the tree back there. That yellowy green, getting rid of it. Okay, well, I'm knocking it down. I'm feeling better about that. Let's get that right color up in the foreground. Okay, I need to add more variation and value. And let's get this, that orangey color that I had right up. Kick that right up, drag it right over it. Okay, that's feeling a little bit better. A little sideways strokes. I can have a little bit more strokes in here because this is coming towards the foreground. And take that dark color that I had and just go back in. And get a couple of areas where it would be light flowing underneath. I mean, dark flowing underneath, dark underneath, bring it up. See this wispy sort of stroke, I'm really actually not hitting a lot of the light and pastel. I'm going right at the bottom of the light and I'm going up. So I've created more of a shadow area underneath. Let's get a couple of areas where, okay. Knock that down quite a bit back there. Ooh, look at it, I didn't resolve that. Those yellow guys are gonna drive me nutty. Okay, it's gotta be dark. I'm gonna be ruthless. I'm just gonna get a dark green. I can come over it with another color. Value's way too light. Way too light. That yellow is competing with the sky. Just get the right value down in here. This makes far more sense. The tree is now, see the way this now is standing out against the background. Now let's see what happens if I go in with a yellowy, that's a little bit on that dull side. This one, I don't think I used over here. Might have been the original color that was right there. And I'm just going to come in and just soften some of those really sharp edges that I have. Okay, the shapes are a little too big, the value is better. So I know I'm on the right track. And now the difference is up here to down here. Look at, I can get a light value down here because I'm not competing with the value of the sky. And so I'll pull up that. Oh, here, I'll pull up this guy here. Let's see if he'll show up. Okay. Okay, so he'll show up down here. Okay, just little light areas, a little bit there. And it looks like that branch is coming right out. Okay, so I feel like I brought up that tree. Okay, value-wise. Okay, value-wise with this, still have more to do. I'm going to want to give a little bit more contrast down in the rock area here. I'll put in some of this dark just so you can see it. I'm going to drag that in. Get this over here. Get that contrast. This is like, I'm just putting this in so you can see it. Kick up that contrast in the foreground. Holy moly, what was I thinking when I did this? Okay. Value. Okay, get that. Really. Okay, so that value, look at the difference. Holy moly. Okay, good. I'm trying not to go over these light areas because they're doing okay. Shadow's gonna be falling on this side, not on this side, a little reflection there. Reflection from that, but I'm gonna just come in with a little bit here. Gonna leave it. Okay, so both of them had value issues. In order for these masses of trees to show up, I needed to resolve the value, okay? Using similar colors, I could get in there and I could just knock up shapes. I could carve out areas that were light and areas that were dark. Let me just scoot it slightly sideways that way so you can see both of them. Neither of them are totally done, but the point is when you're looking at your painting, you're looking at it from fresh eyes and think of it in terms of the color palette on both of these was pretty good. Too intense here, too much the same here. Okay, so take it from there and say, okay, do I have too many colors? Do I need to eliminate some colors? Do I need to think of my color plan? You know, having a color wheel, and if you take classes from me, you know, I love this guy right here. You know, there you go, right there. Lots of blue greens right here. Blue, blue, green, green. Have my red, orange, my yellow, and my red violet. Okay, which are colors that exist in there. This guy here, he was more oranges, yellows, red, oranges. So for the discord or the smaller amounts of colors that will complement them, that's right, I have my blue violets, and my blue greens. Okay, so I can get a little bit more on the blue greens going on here in that background area, which is why I dragged a very muted blue green over this, that green back there. Even in real life, you know, sometimes we see those patches of green that look really vibrant in the autumn when the trees are coming down. But the reality of it is it became almost like a bullseye. You went right there to that bright green and all that bright orange. So knocking that down back there. I'll get some other really fun oranges up in this foreground and kick up the color up in this area here, knock it down in there. Could knock it down a little bit more right here. I'm just going to drag this guy right here. So, okay, so you all know I just keep talking. So, and I am going to have, I'm going to a birthday party. So let's see if anyone has any questions, comments. What can I answer for you before we have to sign off?
I just have a quick question about when you're doing trees.
Yeah.
Especially the ones with the green foliage. Do you usually do one whole pass over all the trees in one green and then go back and fill in the other lights and darks, or do you do it along?
Yeah, that's a good question. Typically, when I'm putting down the greens, I've either done a dry underpainting where I've washed in.
Yeah.
Okay, you know,
Okay.
just pushed it in,
Mhm.
or wet where I've washed it in. This plein air, I don't do a lot of wet underpainting,
No.
just because of the speed. And, you know, it depends on what the weather, and it takes so long for it to dry and all that other jazz. But yeah, there's a big pass of big strokes. There was a quote I heard the other day that was really great. Actually, it was Laura Pollock, and she was quoting Albert Handel. And it was start like a bricklayer, end like a jeweler. So if you think of that in terms of that whole big stroke to small stroke, or if you're a painter with a brush, big brush to little brush, pastel, big strokes, big areas to smaller ones. And that was a problem in both of these. I had started getting too fiddly in the background. I started getting too many small strokes in the background. I need to keep it big strokes, you know, so that, you know, the eye doesn't, I mean, if I wanted the eye to go back there, that's a different thing. But, you know, the focal point for neither of these was in the background. So I needed to reduce that.
Okay.
So that big stroke, but you know what? It's always about value. You could have, let's say you've got green trees, green leaves, okay? You could put dark blues down, dark violets, dark reds. You could put down whatever dark color matches the, well, I shouldn't say dark, maybe it's not.
Yeah.
Dark. Whatever value matches it. That's why underneath this, there's a variety of colors,
Mhm.
okay? This is a little easier to mention than that. That one's got the blue violet, it's got warm blue, it's got cool blue.
Yeah.
You know,
You
it's
could
got,
do
but
the-
well,
even
the
do an
drawing was in
underpainting.
red, so there's a little
Yeah.
red that's showing up there too.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, Laura.
that helps a lot.
Yeah, good, good. Any other questions?
This was wonderful, Betsy.
Oh,
Thank
good, good.
I always like to see how you go about solving certain issues that you feel are part of a problem. So it's helpful to me because then I can say, oh, I can go back and fix something, you know.
Right. You know, and this is the one, and I mean, you know, we do it while we paint, But, it's that point of going back into paintings, after they've rested for a while. And, if you break it down to, neither of these had huge compositional issues at all, okay, that I saw, okay? If it's the color issue, then just same thing, just are the colors too bright? Are the colors, do I have enough of a value shift? Do I have warm and cool colors? It's all those opposites. I'm looking to see if I have one of my little signs here. No. It's about your opposites. Your contrast of value, dark and light. Your contrast of temperature, warm and cool. And your contrast of intensity, which is your dull colors and your vivid colors. Too much vivid in the background. That vivid in the background overshadowed this front area, which I was trying to create. Look at how much more this stands out now, because
Yeah.
it's not competing with that orange back there.
Right.
Vivid issues here. This one was totally a value issue,
Mhm.
and I needed to get a wider range of value in that foreground.
The
Yeah,
other
Mark's
thing-
in the-
Thank
Yep.
you. The other thing I wanted to tell you is in photography, sometimes when you're having trouble with getting the right color for what you're looking for, they have a gray paper, I think it's called a gray board, and you hold it up
Yeah.
to the camera and the camera resets its color. I don't know, its colors in some way or another. Then you take it away and your colors are more realistic. And I don't know if that would,
Okay. Yeah,
When
I
you
know
say
there's
that
that.
well, when you say when the monitor isn't reading the colors as vividly as you would like sometimes, I'm wondering if that would help.
Right, like having the gray board on the side.
No, I actually, you would hold it up in front of the camera and then take it away and it kind of resets.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure. I can give that a try too. Yeah.
Something to think
um,
about.
Yeah, definitely. No, any suggestions that's fine. Great. Yeah, I've tried it with, when I take photographs. I don't see it over here, but I had half white, half black, and they say that's a good thing to lie down next to your photographs when you're, when you're taking a photograph of your painting, so that the camera picks up the dark and the white on this. I
Yeah,
don't really know what it's called, but photographers use it.
yes.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
Okay, great.
And
Anything else?
happy birthday.
Oh, yeah, somebody else's
Whoever.
birthday. I'm gonna go
Whoever.
celebrate. I'm gonna go celebrate for them. Any other questions? Comments?
Comment, Betsy.
Yep.
Judy. I like the way the tree popped out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that made a big difference, so
Made a
helpful.
huge difference. They got totally lost. You couldn't even see the trunks on this side. You'd hear. At
Mm.
least that one you can see because it was standing by itself. But these guys over here, you couldn't even see. Even these over here are looking better. So I'm gonna, do a little finessing on those, but at least you were able to see that, that beginning stage. So,
Yeah, this is very
Okay.
helpful.
and
Thanks so much.
um,
Very nice.
I will be putting something in, because I'll send out the recording for this. But I'm going to start doing these. I've had a couple of trial runs of a pop-up paint along. A 2-hour for $15, and we all paint the same thing. And it's via Zoom, so that'll be included. A little bit of information about one that's coming up in a couple weeks if anyone's interested. It may not suit you now, but at some time in the future, they're pop-up because I'm just going to do them when it fits in my schedule. So I'm going to try for one a month and see how that goes to start with.
Well, sounds
Okay.
good. I will see you at
Okay.
your nocturne workshops in a couple of weeks.
Oh, great.
I'm
Yeah,
looking forward to
the
that.
nocturne workshop is next week. I can't
Yeah,
believe
yeah, that's right, next week.
that is. It's really, that's coming up. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
at the Museum of Cape Cod Museum of Art.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, I'm
I'm
excited.
looking forward to that. Yeah, that's a definite, that's gonna run, so, which is
Oh, good.
which is
Good.
good. So, yeah, definitely. And
Okay.
I think I put in the email other things that I have more things, but I'll put them out a little closer to the dates coming up. But I appreciate you guys all coming, I'm
Yeah,
glad.
thank you. It was great.
We had a little bit of
Thank you.
time.
Really
Okay,
helpful.
okay,
Thank
bye-bye,
you.
everyone.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Thank you.
Bye, thank you.